Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing Primophobia 2. Now, if you haven't already guessed, of course it's another Sudoku puzzle. That's what this channel is all about. But it's a little bit hard to get that from what you have here in this thumbnail. So, Primophobia, when I looked it up, I couldn't find any actual disease related to it. And essentially my interpretation here is the word primo as in Spanish for like brilliance. So in a way it's essentially fear of perfection, fear of brilliance. It's a real stretch to sort of come up with that as an interpretation. Now, as soon as I reveal the grid and the rules, it'll be probably fairly clear that it actually has nothing to do with it. And I wish I did look at the rules before I started some of the artwork. But here is what you have in here. Sleuth, Mrs. Sleuth, dancing. It's a checkerboard floor. The grid will explain why in a second. And I guess they're just, well, certainly Mr. Sleuth would be afraid here of this perfect scene about making a mistake and making Mrs. Sleuth look bad. Let's take a look at the puzzle. And of course the rules. So, Primophobia 2 by Abdul the Killer. And rule set wise, we've got standard Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. Pretty standard. Cells containing values exactly one greater than an immediate neighbor, diagonal or orthogonal, within their box are shaded. Otherwise, they are unshaded. Now, we featured something very similar from ATK a little while ago, actually, with a very similar variant. And essentially the way it works is, imagine, for example, that this is a 1. All that's saying is that because it's an unshaded cell, is that nowhere that is next to this cell, including the diagonals, is a 0. I think that's a fairly obvious and a given one. Now, if this is a 2, that is absolutely fine. What it's saying is that within its neighbors, there is in fact indeed a cell that is more than one, exactly one less than it. So because there is a 1 right next to this 2 has to be shaded. What I couldn't have done is place a 2 in here, because that's now saying that 1 is nowhere near it, but the reality is obviously different. So that's what all the rules mean here. I say all the rules, one of the variant rules. The last variant rule is cells with lozenges contains prime numbers. So I imagine that means all of these diamonds have to be prime numbers. So just for the avoidance of doubt, I am not counting 1 as a prime number here, but I will count 2 or 3 or 5 or 7. These are what I would consider prime numbers, and it looks correct because there is in fact 4 diamonds in every box, and we know under normal Sudoku rules that we need to use the digits 1 to 9 once each. So, if you're not afraid of perfection, really, I think it really is meant to say prime numbers or primo numbers. If you like playing with prime numbers and this odd cell shading rule, link will be in the description down below for you to play along as usual. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So I think one thing that I can do almost for free, and because it's only 4 digits, is essentially anything that has a diamond, I can put immediately in it that it is 2, 3, 5, or 7. That much is a given, it's literally part of the rules. I can also place a digit in under a minute, which is quite unusual for these types of types of puzzles. This is a 1. Now, it may be a little bit not very obvious if you haven't played this variant before, but the way to think about it is, cells that are in the middle are actually extremely difficult for them to be unshaded. Because what that's saying is that there are zeros, if it's unshaded, there are no cells in the box that are exactly 1 smaller than this cell. And the only digit from the Sudoku rule set that is allowed to do so is 1. If I put a 2, it's basically saying that none of these cells are a 1, and that's impossible. So the only one that would work would be 1. And you can use that rule in very interesting ways. In particular, 1, by its nature, that is not larger than any of the Sudoku digits, always has to be in an unshaded cell. So here is an example. 1 in box 7 has to be in one of these two cells. The fact that we have these prime numbers excluding it from it is helpful. The only remaining unshaded cells in box 7 are in here for the 1 to be in. If you take a look at now box 1, these can only be 1. These two can only be 1, just classic Sudoku with the ones in boxes 1 and 7 lining up as such. These are the only places for it in box 4. This is brilliant. We can keep doing this. This is the only place for 1 in box 9, which eliminates this one, gives me this one. In box 8 now, 1 is in one of these two places. Figure out what that means in a second. Can I do better? Not entirely sure, actually. Yes, I can. Here is something. Box 3, 1 is in one of 3 places. But most importantly is the columns now fully align between boxes 3 and boxes 9. So 1s are not in this column, nor this column in box 6. The only place for a 1 now is in here, which gives me another 1 in box 4. Can I? Yeah. So again, same sort of logic. They line up in boxes 1 and 3. So the only place for box 2 to have a 1 is this cell. That's not a 1. That is a 1. It's incredible. We were able to actually put in, it feels like you almost just magic these things out of the air with this rule set. We were able to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1s. And then we're left with this very odd, I mean, not quite X-wing, it's almost like a Y-wing between these 3 boxes. I'm not sure we can necessarily improve on any of them. One thing we can do, though, is for any adjacent cells that are shaded next to the 1, they cannot possibly contain a 2. And let me just clarify. Cells containing values exactly 1 greater with an immediate neighbor within their box. That's the emphasis here. So, for example, this cannot be a 2 because it's very far away from the 1 in its box. Even if this is a 1, the shading doesn't cross box borders. So this cannot be a 2. This cannot be a 2 because remember it's... No, hang on. This can be a 2. Sorry, the unshaded box cannot be a 2. So unshaded boxes that have to have a 1 next to them, they can be. Unshaded boxes... No. What am I trying to say? Shaded boxes with a 1 next to them can be 2. Obviously, unshaded boxes without a 1 that can be next to them cannot contain a 2. So what I'm trying to say is this one cannot contain a 2. These 3 unfortunately can. Can I do better than this? I have to. No, this can be a 2. This cannot be a 2. In fact, the only place for 2 in box 8 is this cell. This can't be a 2 because obviously there are no 1s next to it. This cannot be a 2 because there's a 1 next to it and it's unshaded. So no, that's a 2. This is not a 2. 2 now is in the unshaded box. So there's a 2 in one of these 2 cells. That's not a 2. Let's see what else we can do in here. Because this is shaded and there is a 1 on either side that actually works. These unshaded ones actually both work because there's no 1 near it. We can take this further, I'm sure. The unshaded one works, the shaded ones work because they can have a 1 next to it. This cell, this can be a 2. This can be a 2 because there's no 1 next to it. Looks like we've actually run out of ideas. No. I'm doing something wrong. I'm sure I am. Yeah. This can't be a 2. There's no 1 next to it. This can't be a 2. There is a 1 next to it. 2 is in one of 2 places next to this 1. This can be a 2. This can be a 2. This can be a 2. This cannot be a 2. in fact, the 2, because as soon as whatever you put in the middle, that's another almost like secret of this type of variant, has to always be in a shaded cell. You know, the digit that follows. So if this is, let's say, a 3, then the 4 has to be in a shaded cell. That's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. Because you will always have something that is adjacent, including the diagonals, to whatever's in the center. These can be 2. There are no, this can't be. There is a 1 next to it. This has not been as fruitful as I was hoping, if I'm honest. This can't be a 2 because of, just classic Sudoku, nothing clever here. 2 is in one of 2 cells. Specifically, 2 is in this cell. It can't be in here. So that's the 2. These are not 2s. 2 is in one of 2 cells in here. Both work. That's not a 2. 2 is in one of 2 cells in here. Yeah, almost. Can I do better? Come on. This can be 2. No 1s. Same. No. Hang on. Maybe. Because I can have a 2 with a 1 here. No, it's not because of classic. 2 in one of these. So yeah, if I just highlight where the 2s are, just to see if there is any obvious classic pattern in here. And I think the answer to this is not really. Not actually able to use it to move forward. That's not a 2. Just classic Sudoku for some reason. I forgot about that. So let's just carry on with that thinking. Hang on, these 2 boxes line up. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Interesting. I should think out loud, actually, to sort of help me a bit. So essentially what I'm sort of thinking out loud is there's something odd that I can do, not dissimilar to how you would do it with chess knight rule sets, or anti-chess knight rules, I should really say. Are there certain things where if I place a 2 or a 1, that would actually break the other? So if I place a 1 in one spot, would it actually break the 2 entirely in that box? And vice versa, if there are places where I place a 2, would it break the 1 entirely in that box? So that's sort of what I'm keeping an eye on. If there is anything such as what I just described in here. And if there is, I'm really not seeing it. So that's maybe not the route to continue down. Maybe the question right now is to think a bit more about the actual prime numbers are in here. And the fact that we've already pencil marked them. So the fact that there is a 2 there, what does it do with the 3 that's in there and is consecutive? If that's a 2, that can't be a 3, that can be a 3. If that's a 2, that can't be a 3. So in fact, this cannot be a 3 just full stop, because if that's a 3, that's a 2, then I've broken the unshaded 3 cell. If that's a 3, that's nowhere near the 2s, so no 3. That's a 3, that would have to be 2. So 3 is in one of 2 spots. That's actually very restricted. This 3 works, this 3 works, this 3 doesn't. 3 is also very restricted in here. This 3 would work, this 3 would work. This 3 doesn't, because that would make that a 2. This 3 actually this 3 doesn't either because, oh no, it can. There's a 2 there, that would work. 3 in here with a 2 there would be absolutely fine. So we've only removed 1 3. I'm actually going to use a bit of coloring now because I just can't see the 3s anymore. Don't know about you guys, but I think it's just helpful to do this whilst we're running. That can't be a 3 clearly because any of these would be 2, so that's not a 3. 3 in here would be that, well, that would be a 2. 3 in there, either of these would be a 2, which is actually valid. And then 3 in there means the 2 would have to be down here. So interestingly, 3 there would put a 2 down here. 3 there, no, that can be a 2. And 3 there, that can be a 2. Not helpful. 3 in here, well, that can't be a 3 in a shaded cell because there are no 2s near it. 3 here works. 3 there doesn't. No 2s next to it. So 3 is very restricted in here. I should have actually made a sort of blue flash because we don't actually know where it is right now. But that does remove a 3 from here. That places a 3 in the column. That removes a 3 from here. That is not a flash anymore. This flash forces this to not be a 3, forces this to be a 3. Again, it really does feel like magic sometimes. And if this is a 3, this has to be a 2. That's not a 2. That is a 2. That's not a 2. We'll figure out what that means in a second, pardon me. I'm just tidying up my pencil marks. That's not a 3 either. That is a 3. I'm going to keep the blues. It's just the problem is it hides which one is shaded and not shaded. So I will lose it very quickly, I should say. But it's just so helpful to see where things are. So 3s are in one of these 3 cells. They all see the 2, mind you, so that can't be a 3. So it's only one of 2 cells in here. It's neither cell here, apparently. Yeah, that can't, none of these. So that's not a 3. That is the 3. That's another 5 7 pair. That's not a 3. That's the only place left for a 3. Just fantastic. Magic. 3 is not here. 3 is in one of 2 cells. 3 cells, I should say. 3 here works because 2 is on either side. 3 there would mean that 2 is there. That works. 3 here would be, yeah, that's all good. That's not a 3 because of this 3. There's a 3 in here. That's not a 3. That's not a 3. That can't be a 3. No, that can be a 3 because there are no 2s next to it, so that's fine. This 3 here would require a 2 next to it. This 3 here could have the 2 like anywhere else. So, where are the 3s in this box? They are in here, in there, in here, and in there. Hang on, that's unshaded. That can't be a 3. We'll see it. That is a 3. That's not a 3. That is the 3. That's unshaded. That can't be the 2. That is the 2. That's not the 2. That is the 2. That's not a 2. Good progress once again. 3 is in one of 2 places. I'm going to lose the blue now. It was a bad choice, but at the same time, not entirely a bad choice. So 3, let me just think around which boxes are not resolved. Which ones don't have 1, 2, or 3. So up there, this is good, this is good. What's going on in here? That's not a 3 because of that. If that's a 3, that's fine because that would be a 2. If that's a 3, that's also fine. There are 2s. No 2. No. Sorry, no 2 because of this cell. This can be a 2. There are no 1s next to it. This can't be a 2 in here. So 2 is very restricted in there. Interesting. It gets very tough from here, I think, until we make a bit more progress with what we have. So you can ask the question, where does 4 go? For example, and 4 can't be in here because it cannot see the 3. The 3 is tucked away in a corner. So essentially it has to be in an unshaded cell. It can be in here. It can be there. In fact, it has to be here because the way the 4 is right now, in fact, the only place, no, hang on, these two, they line up in terms of rows. So the only place for a 4 in row 5 is in this cell. That's a 4. I'm really only going to focus on boxes that have a 3. No 4. 4, 4, 4, 4. Too many. 4. I think that's literally the only place. Can't be here. Unshaded next to a 3. Shaded not next to a 3. Unshaded not next to a 3 is actually fine. So there are actually quite a few places for 4 still up there. That's not even completed. We've covered this box already once. Yeah, can be 4, can be 4, can be 4. No, yes, no, no. Only place for a 4 in box 8 is this cell. No, sorry, this cell. That can't be next to the 3. These two are away from the 3. That's the only place that's left. No. One of 2 places now in box 5. No. One of 2 places in box 2. No. One of 2 places in box 7. 4 is in a shaded cell in here, which means the 3 needs to be next to it. Doesn't exactly help unless I can eliminate one of these 4s to actually place the 3 between these 3 locations. Sorry, I'm sitting back because I'm just, struggling through this. And it might make me a little bit inaudible sometimes. That's my bad. Again, this box is very tough. We haven't placed the 3. Given what we have in general with the prime numbers, I'm sort of double checking I haven't missed any obvious classic Sudoku. I think the answer is I don't believe so. 3 has to be in there. We knew that anyway. I didn't really reveal anything strong there. 5 7s, 2 5 7s, 3 5 7s. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. 5s. Yeah, they're fine. That can't be a 5 because it sees where the 4s can be. The rest seems okay to me. Seems okay. Can't be in here. That's a 7 because it can see both. No, hang on. 5 in there is fine. 5 in here is fine. 5 in any of these is actually fine. It's possible. Really challenging sometimes. This being a 5 is impossible given the 4s are nowhere near it and it's shaded. That's a 7. That's a 5. That's a 7. That's a 5 in here, a 7 in there. That 5 is shaded. It needs to have a 4 next to it. That's the 4. That's the 4. Can't be a 5 now because it doesn't see the 4. Does that 5, 7 continue anywhere else? That's a 5. Does that 4 help me? 4 is joining the 1, 4. If that's a 4, it's unshaded next to a 3, so that's 1, that's 4. Both of these are shaded, they're 5 and 7. Both of them are shaded. I was going to say this has to be a 6, that's not true. Because if that's the 7, I can actually stick a 6 in here, and I'll be fine, or in there. The 5 is shaded, the 4 needs to be next to it. That's not the 4. That's not the 4 now, just classic Sudoku. That's the 4. Either could be a 5 still, because this sees the 4, this doesn't. 4 is only left in one cell in box 3. That's not the 4, that's the 4. And again, as if by magic, the 4s just appeared. 9 of them. Yeah, 9 of them. Just incredible. This is, neither of these are 7s. This is a 2-5 pair now. 3-7 pair. Doesn't quite line up. 5-7 pair. Yeah, one of them being a 5-7. Not helpful. 7, unshaded. Neither of these are a 6. That's the 6. That's the 8 because either one has to be shaded. It will see the 7. That's 8. That's 9. That's 6. Sorry, that's not right. That's 6. Nowhere near the 5. That's good. These are 8 and 9. Whichever one is, it is. The 9 has to be shaded because it will see the 8. So that's 9. That's 8. Once you sort of make a little bit of progress, it starts to collapse really quickly. That 7 is shaded. It needs to be next to a 6. That's the 6. That's the 8. That's the 9. That's looking good too. How are we doing for time? 23 minutes. We've done the entire middle section. Surely we can continue this activity somehow. What are these two cells, for example? That 7 gives me a 5, a 7. That 7 is shaded, so that has to be a 6, which is also shaded next to the 5. That's fine. This is 8 and 9. That's got to be the 8. That's got to be the 9. Is that my imagination? Is this the only place left for a 1? Yeah, that was a while ago. We can actually finish the 1s. They both can be 2 still. This can be 2. This can be 2. No, it's not helping. Okay, we'll figure out what it is. No 6s. That's the only place for a 6. Which means this has to be the 7. If that's a 7, I've broken it. 7, 5, 8 and 9. I think both directions work because the 8 in either location sees the 7 and the 9 in either location sees the 8. So not quite. This 7 gives me a 5 down here. None of these are 5s. There's an 8, 9 plus. Mind you, yeah, there's an 8, 9 with a 6. And the 6 is definitely on a shaded cell. It's the one after the 5. This is another 8, 9. And again, oh no, I say again, that's not true. If that's an 8, where's the 7? So that's the 9. Sorry, I can't type today. The 8 has to be able to see a 7 now. The 7 in here works. 7 in a lot of places works. We'll figure it out in a second. That 9 gives me an 8 and 9. This is not a 5. 3, 7 pair. Both work where they are. These are 6, 8, 9. This is 6, 9 looking at it. That's an 8. That can't be a 7 anymore. That's a 3. That's the 7. The 7 can see the 6s. The 6s cannot see the 5s on this side. That's the 6. That's the 9. I'm sure we can do something in here. The 3 is shaded. Yeah. The 5 has to be shaded because everything can see the 4. That's a 5. That's a 2. That makes this a 2. Makes this not 2. Neither of these are 3. That's the 3. 5 and 7. What are these two cells? They are 6, 8. That means that's the 9. That's got to be the 6. That's got to be the 8. The 5 doesn't see the 4, but the 7 sees the 6. That's 5. That's 7. Nearly on the home stretch now. That's 5. What have we got in here? Is that 9? That gives me an 8 next to it. That gives me a 6 in here. That gives me an 8. That gives me a 6. That's got to be a 7. That's got to be a 3. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's a 2 for a finish. So I think with this rule set, I really struggle with the idea that it is a 1-star difficulty rated puzzle. But it's almost every time I play this rule set, it's as if I'm playing it for the first time. I remember a handful of things I've learned, such as the 1, always in an unshaded cell. If it's, unshaded in the center, it has to be a 1. But I don't know if it's just the prime numbers threw me off or what it was, but it's a very unusual rule. That's the only thing I can say, but it's a phenomenal puzzle. So thank you, ATK. Really enjoyed it once more. I hope that you guys have too. I will try and remember to dig out what the playlist is for this variant. There is a couple on this channel that we featured, so if you've enjoyed today's puzzle, take a look at what YouTube will recommend to you next in this playlist. Bye-bye for now.